Here's what all those lovely magazines won't tell you about minimalism, because it ain't all pretty, folks. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura and I help you live a simpler, happier, more spacious life. And if your home is not looking Pinterest worthy, it's very easy to feel defeated. It's very easy to feel like you're doing something wrong. How come you are not getting the same results as everyone else seems to be getting? Well, it's because a lot of that stuff is not real. It is the pretty showcased side of minimalism, but there is an ugly, i.e. non-aesthetic side to minimalism. Let me share some of those with you. And the first one is a very simple, practical thing, but it's something that a lot of us don't think about when we think of minimalism. It's using stuff up. It's all of the things that you have on hand that you don't want to just get rid of. You want to use it up before you move on to your preferred product or before you stock up on something else. But it's not always pretty. That stuff is not always great. It's not always the best product. It's not always the best looking product. Plus, a lot of us hang on to ugly stuff because it's still good. There's no point in going out and replacing it because the one that you have still works, it's still functional, it's still serviceable, but it may not fit the minimalist aesthetic. I have plenty of things that are ugly, a little bit torn, a little bit worn that I still keep because they still do the job. I have bottles and packages of things that are all mismatched or, have very garish colors or, lots of text or whatever because I don't want to go out and buy matching containers and I don't want to give my time to decanting things. But using things up and using what you have is practical, but it's not always pretty. The second one then, and I have felt the brunt of this. It's not fun and you have to be prepared for it if you do decide to take on minimalism, if that's something that you've decided that you want to do. It's the judgment of others, people that are close to you, your family, your friends, people on the internet. Everyone will have an opinion about how much stuff you have, whether it's too little or too much. People will have an opinion about what you should and shouldn't be getting rid of. They will have opinions on, whether it's right to get rid of that thing or where you should donate it to or what you should do with it or why are you getting rid of something when it's still good or it was passed down to you or whatever the reason, somebody will have an opinion on it. It's very easy to get discouraged when somebody else seems to be blocking you at every step. I get this all the time because I put out YouTube videos. I get regular comments about you have too much stuff, you're doing it the wrong way, somebody says you should be doing it this way. Minimalism means different things to different people. There is no enough. There is no right amount of stuff that you should have. There's no way of telling what is the right thing to keep and what is the right thing to get rid of. It's a very personal decision. Even if you don't put up videos on the internet or put up pictures on social media or whatever, the people in your life will probably still have something to say about it and you have to push through that. You have to overlook that. You have to go deep inside and figure out what is best for you. It may cause some friction. It may cause some difficult conversations. It may even cause some confrontation, but at the end of the day, you are the one living your life and everything comes back to you. I think this next one isn't talked about enough and I'm not going to go into it in too much depth because I don't feel competent enough to talk about it with any sort of authority, but it is something that plays on the back of my mind and I think it's something that we should all be very conscious of. Minimalism is a privilege. Getting to decide what you can have, what you can get rid of, how much stuff you can keep, that is a privilege that is not afforded to everyone. Deciding that you can donate your excess stuff that is surplus to your requirements or your wants and desires is a privilege. Decluttering is not a sacrifice. It's not a wrench. It is a very privileged thing to be able to do. If minimalism is an option for you, you are a very fortunate person. Now, speaking of tiny homes, small living quarters, and those images that we see on the internet of these beautiful little cabins or whatever, or these stylishly designed vans. It's really important to remember that minimalism, having less stuff, does not equal being tidy. Decluttering a huge amount of stuff does not automatically mean that your home is going to be clean and organized. Yes, it would be easier to get it to that stage, but it doesn't mean that the stuff that's left is going to automatically organize and categorize itself. When you see those pictures in magazines, you automatically think minimalism is tidiness. It is a certain way of organizing, and that's just not the case. Minimalism can still look messy. A follow-on point from that then is that your home is for living in, not for showcasing. And I know that we all kind of understand on an intellectual level that the pictures that we see online, the pictures that we see in magazines, aren't an accurate reflection of what life is like. You know, those have been curated, those have been designed a certain way. It is a standard that, yes, you could reach, but it's not a standard that you can maintain. You live in your home, you cook in your home, you possibly work in your home like I do, you play in your home. There are so many activities that you do on a daily basis that are going to naturally lead to messes. And it's so easy to feel bad about that. It's so easy to look at someone else's picture of their nice tidy kitchen or their beautiful bedroom or their perfectly organized bookcase. But I don't touch this. Like, this is just for show, really. Even those pictures where you see, you know, a blanket thrown over the couch or some toys on the floor, those have still been very carefully arranged to look aesthetically pleasing. It's a fake mess. Life is messy, and the sooner that we all embrace that, the better. Minimalism is ugly, it is messy, because that's just real life. It does make it a little bit easier to clean up those messes at the end of the day, but the reality is you live in your home, you use your stuff. That's what it's there for. Your home is a living space, not a storage space. Don't prioritize your stuff and how it looks over how you live your life. And a follow-up point to that then is that minimalism is not about how something looks. It's not about how much stuff you have. It's about making your life easier. So if you feel pressure to keep up or to maintain a certain standard, or to have things look a certain way, or to have a certain number of items, or to have a certain number of experiences, or to spend a certain amount of money, or to just live in a certain way, if you're feeling that pressure, if that is stressing you out, that's not minimalism. If it's making your life more difficult, if it's making your life harder, if it's stressing you out, if you feel some overwhelming desire to attain some perfect standard or any sort of high standard, you're missing the point. If it's not making your life easier, it's just not minimalism. And let's be honest with ourselves here. Minimalism can be, it doesn't necessarily have to be, but often it is expensive. Between storage containers and, you know, splashing out on better quality items or spending more money on experiences, which, let's face it, can be quite pricey compared to just picking something up at the dollar store. Having the matching bins and baskets and clothes hangers and all of those types of things, it can add up very quickly. And like I said, this doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but very often it is. When you focus your attention on experiences, when you focus your attention on having a tidy, organized home, very often that does, unfortunately, come with a price. And that is especially the case if you are looking for more of that minimalist aesthetic. And if you are, that is perfectly fine. It is a beautiful aesthetic. Just remember that minimizing the amount of stuff that you have does not necessarily mean minimizing the amount of money that you're spending. Now, some of those things, like the storage containers, are very obvious costs, but there are some hidden costs to decluttering, to minimalism, that you may not have even considered. I was so surprised by these when I started my decluttering journey. You can check them out right here, because if you're serious about decluttering, if you're serious about minimalism, minimalism, these are some things that you may have to factor into your budget. Go check those out to avoid the sticker shock, to avoid the damage done to your bank balance. And until then, go raibh míle maith agaibh. Agus feiceáid mé sibhte go luath. Slán!